Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Read Step. I am your host, Isaiah Ruiz, and it's great to be back with you guys. That other video is doing a lot better than some of the videos that I had done months before. Like I said, we're going to incorporate, now we're finally get to incorporate thumbnails, going to be able to incorporate some more graphics, trying to get some also like highlights and footage to put over these videos so you're not just looking at me the whole time. But I want to go ahead and get into today as I kind of what I mentioned last video. Today I'm going to go on, and so we're going to talk about a couple things. We're going to talk about 11 through 25 when it comes to the top 25 rankings, and we're going to talk about my Oklahoma Sooners. And for those who don't know, or maybe still new to this channel, I am now a student at the University of Oklahoma, so I'll be definitely talking a lot about the Oklahoma Sooners as well as my childhood team, the USC Trojans. But we're happy that football's back, and pretty soon we obviously had the first high school game kickoff this past week. Buford and Milton, both schools out of Georgia. And it's an exciting time to be back. Finally get high school football back. We're going to talk about high school football in California. We're going to talk about college football. And we're going to talk about the NFL. But first and foremost, we want to go ahead and start off with the college football top 25 rankings, 11 through 25. Last week, the last video, we went ahead and we talked about the top 10, gave my thoughts and opinions. Now we're going to go ahead and get into 11 through 25. So, as you imagine, we're going to get through this a little bit quicker than I did with 1 through 10 because there's a lot more teams. Now, what we have here, 11 through 25, I'll go down the list really quick and just kind of name them. It's going to be Arizona State at 11, and then it's going to be 12, Illinois, and then South Carolina, Michigan, Florida, SMU, Kansas State, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Indiana, Ole Miss, Iowa State, Texas Tech, Tennessee, and Boise State. Now, with each team, I'm going to go ahead and kind of give maybe just a few of my thoughts on their ranking, where I think they should be ranked based on last year, and whether I think they're a little too low, a little too high, whatever the case may be. But we're going to burn through these a little bit quickly. Starting off with Arizona State, I'm not mad at Arizona State being at number 11. Probably would have them back a little bit further, a little bit back in my top 25, which I'm going to be doing another video on, making my own top 25 ranking, because, I mean, just as one example, speaking of USC just a few moments ago, USC I think should be in this top 25, anywhere between 23 to 25. But the fact that they're not even ranked on here is kind of ridiculous. So Arizona State, I get why they want to go 11 with the Arizona State, but I would probably move them back a little bit. I'd probably move them at number 15, maybe number 14. I think that would be a good spot for them, but just poking outside the top 10, I don't see them as a team that's poking just outside the top 10 just yet. However, I do see why the people rank them there. Obviously, they had a really great season last year. They were picked to finish last of the Big 12, and they go and were a blown call away versus Texas to advancing into the college football playoff in one of the, best college football games that I've seen in a very, very long time. I think definitely one of the more entertaining college football games in this decade so far, being 5 years into this decade. So really, really solid team last year. Absolutely blew the doors off of expectations for the Sun Devils, and I'm excited. I like their head coach Kenny Dillingham a lot, and I love Coach Dillingham a lot. I think he's a great coach. I love his attitude. I love the way he goes about coaching, the way he goes about not just recruiting his players, but really hiring his coaching staff and building that core from the ground up. And I think it's a wonderful thing to see. The Arizona Sun Devils, I think, are going to have a bright future with him as the head coach of that team. Now, Illinois coming in here at number 12. I'm not mad at Illinois being number 12. I think they're going to be a really good team in the Big Ten. They're going to be a challenge to some of those top tier and B tier Big Ten teams. They're going to be a tough challenge for USC. They're going to be a challenge for Michigan, in my opinion. I think they're going to be a little bit of a challenge for Oregon and teams of that nature. I don't think they're going to be much of a challenge for Ohio State or some of the other teams in the Big Ten, at least of the upper echelon. So they play Ohio State. I think Ohio State blows the doors off of them, but I think they go out and they compete really well, if not beat Indiana. They go out and possibly beat USC. They go and possibly No, actually, I can see them going. They possibly could be Washington in Washington. I would personally pick Washington in that matchup since it is at Washington and Washington Husky Stadium. Now, I've never been to Washington Husky Stadium, but I heard that that place is absolutely rocking when the Huskies are hosting a game, any game in that stadium over there in Washington. So, I think those are going to be the four biggest tests for them: Indiana, USC, Washington, and Ohio State. Obviously, like I said, I think they lose to Ohio State. I think they go in, they could compete with Washington. I don't see them beating Washington, though, in Washington. I could see them going out and it's 50-50 between them and USC. And I definitely see them going out and beating Indiana. Other than that, I mean, they have a very favorable schedule, especially to start out the season with West Illinois, Duke, and Western Michigan. Those are teams that they can easily beat, start off the season 3-0, go to Indiana, win there, start the season 4-0, and then we'll see what happens when they go and play USC at their home stadium. So should be an interesting season for Illinois and possibly make some noise and definitely make it into the college football playoffs. So if I was to re-rank them, probably going to be a little bit lower, maybe like one or two spots. But I think Illinois this year being ranked so far at number 12, I don't think that's a bad ranking. Now going down to South Carolina. South Carolina, I think, has a lot of expectations on its plate, obviously. And for anybody that's watching SEC football any given Saturday on Netflix, I mean, that's just the kind of expectations that they are carrying with Lenore Sellers at quarterback. And I don't blame him. Lenore Sellers is a Heisman Trophy candidate, and rightfully so. He's one of the best quarterbacks in college football, not just the SEC. He is built like a freaking tank, much like DJ Lagway, who we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. And he is, as long as you have him at quarterback, you should have expectations to win. And this year, possibly make the college football. They have a really good chance at making the college football playoff. You got him. You have, I believe, Dylan Story, the defensive end for South Carolina. And you have Nick Harbor. You have three really, really talented first-round potential players at some of the key positions on that South Carolina team. And their schedule is going to be tough a little bit. They start off with Virginia Tech, SC State, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's going to probably is going to have a big, probably even bigger chip on their shoulder than they did last year after that win they came off against Alabama last year, which it was either the first time in history or the first time in a long time that Vanderbilt did that. They're going to come back and want to beat South Carolina and go in this year and beat South Carolina in South Carolina. Then they're going to go and they're going to play Missouri at Missouri. I think I've talked about this a little bit before on the last episode. I think Missouri of the SEC is going to be one of those teams that could sneak into the college football playoffs this year. They're a really good team. They're going to be a lot tougher, I think, than they were last year. And I think for South Carolina to go into Missouri is going to be really, I'll put it this way. I think it's going to be tougher than people may think. Now, I still pick South Carolina to beat Missouri, so I got them going 1, 2, 3, 4. 4-0. They got Kentucky next, 5-0. And then this is where it gets a little tricky. Then they go to LSU. That could be a possible loss to LSU, who I think can make a serious run at the national title this year. I don't think that is anything crazy to say, and I don't think there's too many people out there that would disagree. I think at LSU could be a possible loss. Then you have 2 home games. You have Oklahoma, and then you have Alabama back-to-back. So you already got LSU at LSU, Oklahoma, and Alabama. Those could potentially be very, very much be 3 straight losses. LSU is going to be one of the top teams in the country. Oklahoma, I think, is going to surprise people more than people think, and we'll get into why a little bit later in this episode. And Alabama is going to come back with a vengeance. The board knows that he can't go back-to-back years without making the playoffs, and they're going to be out headhunting this year and be more of a force than people think. I think those could be 3 straight losses. But see, then we get into at Ole Miss, which is going to be another tough game. I don't think it'll be as tough, obviously, without Jackson Dart there, but it's going to be a tough game regardless. And you got Texas A&M, who I think is going to make a really, really big jump this year. You got Reed coming back. That defense is still that defense. They're going to be an amazing ball club this year, and that's going to be at Texas A&M at College Station. That's going to be a pretty electrifying game, I feel like. Then you got Coastal Carolina, and then you have Clemson, the number 4 ranked team in the country, who I pick. In my opinion, I think will make the national title this year against either. I could see them possibly playing Alabama this year. Might get another rematch of Alabama, Clemson, but or sorry, no, Clemson versus. I think the last. I'm sorry, I know I'm all over the place. I think the last episode I picked Ohio State versus Clemson because I could see Ohio State making a return back. But if it's not Ohio State, I think it'll be Alabama, Clemson. But South Carolina to go through this stretch with LSU, Oklahoma, Alabama, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Clemson to finish off the season. These are potential 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 potential losses for the South Carolina Gamecocks. So if they go out and do what they're supposed to do, what they should do, and when they're still now, it's 6 potential losses, but it's also 6 potential wins as well. I think they're going to be good enough to beat any of these teams. Don't get me wrong. At LSU is the only one that I would say, and possibly actually College Station, but for sure at LSU is the one I would say. Like I really think they might not win that game because at LSU that's going to just be a really really tough environment to play in. And I think LSU this year, who also has a lot of chips on their shoulders, they're going to come out swinging and they're going to come out wanting to play and beat down South Carolina at home. So interesting year for the Gamecocks, but I'm not too upset again at their ranking. I think number 13 is a pretty good ranking for them. Again, you got Lenore Sellers, so you got a shot. You got Nick Harbor, you got Dylan Story. You have a very formidable team to make the college football playoffs at the very, very least. Moving on, we got Michigan. I don't know how to feel about Michigan. They had one hell of a season last year, beating Ohio State, obviously, at home. They had that whole fight, that whole commotion at the end of the game, planting the flag and all that. And then you go and you also beat Alabama again. By the way, beating both of those teams really without much of their starters, if not any of their starters. So Michigan, and we all heard, if you haven't heard already, there's been a lot of different punishments for them for some of the spying and whatnot, and it's kind of messy. I don't know what exactly is going to mean for the team. We'll see when they go and they play the games, obviously, but I don't know what to think of Michigan. I kind of feel like they're too high. I just don't see Michigan really doing anything this year of significance. According to the Michigan Wolverine standard, I don't see them going and making a deep run in the playoffs. I don't see them going and making a national championship contending team. Now, I think over the next couple of years or so, yes, they got to build that up. Their head coach Moore has to build that up and continue to build from within, similarly to what Jim Harbaugh did when he was at Michigan all those years, which helped lead his team in his final year at Michigan to the national championship. I think that's what they're going to need to do, but I don't see Michigan going and being of anything significant this year. I'm sorry, I just don't. I hope that no Michigan fans get too pissed off at me, but I don't. So I would definitely put them lower for sure. Now, going in with Florida, this is a team that I think, we talked about this already before. The SEC teams this year, they're going to have a lot of chips on their shoulders. Florida, the thing with Florida that I like their head coach, and obviously I'm a big fan of DJ Lagway, and I think they have a very formidable team to make the college football playoffs and make somewhat of a run. Something. They got to do something. But the problem is that if DJ Lagway can't stay healthy, then it's going to be another failed year for the Florida Gators. They've been waiting they got DJ Lagway, and now they've been expecting to make some noise, serious noise in the SEC and making some deep runs. And I feel like if DJ Lagway is not healthy, then I just don't see how this is going to be a good year for Florida. I don't. You start out the season with a couple of easy wins right there, Long Island and South Florida. Then you go to LSU, which we already talked about with South Carolina. That's going to be a tough environment. Then you go to Miami. They should beat Miami. I'm picking Florida to beat Miami, and at least by a touchdown or two. You go to Miami. Then you play Texas at home in the Swamp, given it's not the Swamp, but they're going to play Texas at home. Then you go to College Station. Then you got Mississippi State. And then you play Georgia. You play Kentucky at Kentucky. Then you play at Ole Miss versus Tennessee versus Florida State. Now, I think they have the capability of beating Kentucky, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Florida State 4 games in a row to finish off the season on at minimum 4 straight wins. We'll see how they play against Georgia. I could see them beating Georgia as well. I'm not very confident in Georgia this year, but I could see them going in and beating Georgia. But this stretch right here of at LSU, at Miami, Texas A&M is going to be a really, really tough. That's going to be some tough matchups for the Florida Gators and for DJ Lagway. I mean, we know how good the SEC is, like I mentioned, but one of the reasons that why they are so good and what makes them so good, as a former football player myself and a former athlete myself, the SEC produces thumpers, and I feel like the reason why I mentioned like the SEC even having thumpers at the linebacker positions, the defensive back positions, the defensive line positions, and particularly to Florida again because DJ Lagway is capable of getting hurt. And if he gets hurt, then that's it for Florida. That's it for Florida. Like that's pretty much it. Going on to SMU. SMU had one hell of a season last year, making the first, college football playoffs for the first time ever in school history. It was an amazing season for the Tigers, SMU Mustangs, and it was really fun and exciting to watch. I love that they made it in, and I love that. Indiana made it in. That's one of the things that I love the most about the 12-team college football playoffs is you got teams like this that have the capability of now going in the playoffs and mixing things up. Yeah, sure, they ran into Penn State and they weren't able to beat them. I'm pretty sure it was Penn State. And, they weren't able to beat them. But you know what? At the end of the day, some people are going to complain about that, saying, well, they shouldn't have been in. They should have been Bama. Bama got beat by a Michigan team that had no starters. I don't think Alabama should have deserved to be in. So therefore, I do think that SMU deserved to be in. They played Clemson really, really well in the ACC championship game, and now they're coming back looking to stay in the playoff hunt, looking to continue to go forward. They have Jennings coming back at quarterback, and they got some pretty good receivers as well. So I do think that I'm going to say SMU has a chance to make the playoffs, but it's going to be really, even though their schedule's not anything crazy, I think it's going to be tough for them. But let's get to the schedule. You got Eastern Texas A&M, Baylor, Missouri State, TCU, Syracuse, Stanford. You got at Clemson, so that's going to be a loss most likely. At Wake Forest versus Miami could also be a loss. At Boston College, Louisville, and Cal. I could see them realistically with this schedule losing 2 to 3 games. Again, I think they're going to be a really good team this year. I'm not going to be super down on them. I'm not going to oversell them, but I think they're going to be a good enough team this year. They got Jennings coming back at quarterback, so they're going to have that experience. They're going to have a lot of starts under him. So I do think like 2 to 3 losses is very feasible for SMU and a chance. If they make it back to the ACC championship game, they have a chance to go out and make the playoffs again. So I'm not too upset. I think 16 is okay. Maybe I'll probably drop them down a little bit more. But I could see SMU. I have no issue with SMU being ranked in the top 20. We'll put it at that. Then you got Kansas State. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Now then you got Kansas State ranked right after them at number 17. Their quarterback. Give me 1 second. He's Avery Johnson. Really good quarterback. I watched him a little bit last year. I liked what I saw from him. I think Kansas State being at number 17 is perfect. I think they have the ability in the Big 12 to really make some noise this year. They got Iowa State, North Dakota, Army at Arizona, UCF at Baylor. Baylor is going to be a tough game for them. TCU at Kansas versus they got Texas Tech. Texas Tech, I think, is going to be another really tough game for them. At Oklahoma State, at Utah. I think Utah will make a little bit of a comeback this year. I hate Utah, but I do think they're going to make a little bit of a comeback this year. And then they got Colorado. So I could see them definitely winning most of their games, with their biggest tasks being Baylor, Texas Tech, and Utah. I think those are going to be the 3 big games for them. But if they can get those wins, which they can do, I think that, they're poised to. With this schedule, they could easily be undefeated. That's the crazy part. They could be undefeated. I don't think they will. I think they'll have 1 or 2 losses. I could see them losing to Baylor, at Baylor, and to Texas Tech for sure, and possibly at Utah. But they could, again, all the other teams are not anything like special. So I could see they end the season with Colorado at home, and Colorado obviously does not have Travis Hunter no more, and it does not have Shedeur Sanders, Shiloh Sanders, any of their good players. They're currently in rebuild mode. So I think Kansas State, watch out for Kansas State. I think they could definitely make the Big 12 championship, and who knows, possibly even make the college football playoffs this year. Moving on to my Oklahoma Sooners. I'm going to talk about them a little bit after I talk about the rankings, kind of like I mentioned. So I'll be really quick with Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma is ranked a little too low, in my opinion. I think they should be ranked at least a few spots higher. And we'll get into why a little bit later. So I'm going to skip over it for now because I'm going to get into it shortly after. 19, Texas A&M. I think that's way too low. I think for some of the other reasons that I mentioned and some of the other teams that are on their schedule, I think Texas A&M is going to be a really good team this year, especially at home. And they also need to, again, I'm going to keep saying this over and over again. The SEC teams are going to have some big chips on their shoulders because there's so many teams that really want to get back into title talk. There's teams that want to get back into relevancy, want to get back into being taken seriously. And not that any of these teams haven't been taken seriously. It's just Texas A&M 10 years ago was viewed as we know with Johnny Football as one of the teams to beat in the SEC. Florida, same thing. Texas kind of viewed like that right now, but they haven't really gotten the job done of getting to the national championship, obviously. So Texas A&M with this team, starting off with University of Texas San Antonio, Utah State. Then they go to Notre Dame, which is going to be a tough match. That's going to be a great game, a tough matchup, and it's going to be a great game to watch. They go Auburn after that. They got Mississippi State and Florida. Those three games: Auburn, Mississippi State, and Florida at home. So that is a good stretch for them. Then they go to Arkansas, and then they go at LSU. I already said what I said about games being played at LSU. It's going to be a really hard time for anybody that walks into that stadium. Then you have at Missouri, which, again, Missouri, and of all the SEC teams, I think Missouri could be the ones to sneak in, possibly. We will see. South Carolina, then you got Samford. And then you have at Texas. That's going to be a tough game. I don't see them winning that game. I see maximum 1, 2, 3, 4 losses for them, but possibly even more. Again, the SEC is such a tough conference, arguably still the best conference in all college football. But we'll see how Texas A&M does. But with that being said, I still think they're ranked a little low. I'll probably place them a little bit higher. And then you have Indiana, who made the college football playoffs last year, kind of like I mentioned, with SMU sneaking in there and winning a lot of games. And let me tell you something, their head coach, as much as I don't always like him, their head coach, if you Google him, matter of fact, I'm going to Google him right now, as a matter of fact. Indiana head coach, Curt Cignetti. And I'm sorry if I butchered that. Curt Cignetti. Sorry, I Googled him, as he once said, and it is in fact Curt Cignetti, and he is also in fact a winner. So now Curt Cignetti, obviously a great year for the Indiana Hoosiers last year. They're going to start the season off with Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, Indiana State. You got Illinois at home, which is going to be a tough game, but I think Indiana could go win that game. You have at Iowa, a winnable game for Indiana. At Oregon, probably going to be a loss. And then Michigan State, UCLA, at Maryland, at Penn State, which is going to be a loss. Wisconsin, and at Purdue. So realistically, I can see them losing 1, 2, maybe 3 games for Indiana this year. I don't know what that'll mean. And necessarily meaning I don't know if that'll be what breaks the camel's back as far as their chances of making the college football playoffs again this year, because those 3 teams could easily knock them out if Ohio State obviously stays undefeated, Michigan stays undefeated, if USC does how I feel like they should do and they have 2 or 3 losses, or Illinois maybe comes and they really just do a lot better than even I expect them to do. So we'll see how Indiana does. I think 20 is a perfectly well-ranked number for them at number 20. I'm not mad at that. Ole Miss, number 21. Getting into it, Georgia State, and then at Kentucky, Arkansas, Tulane versus LSU at home for them. Washington. So for right now, I have them 1, 2, 3, 4-0 against LSU. I think that's going to be a loss. So 4-1, and then Washington State, you got 5-1 before you go to Georgia, before you go to Oklahoma, before you play South Carolina, you play the Citadel, and then you play Florida and then Mississippi State. Very, very simple. I think it start off 5-1. I think they go and lose to Georgia. That's going to be 5-2. I think they lose to Oklahoma. That's going to be 5-3. I think they lose to South Carolina. That's going to be 5-4. They beat the Citadel 6-4. So they make a bowl game right here against the Citadel. They lose to Florida. It's going to be 6-5. At Mississippi State, that'll be a toss-up. They either finish off the season 7-5, or they're going to finish off the season 6-6. If I did the math right, I think that might happen. I don't know. I don't know about Ole Miss. I mean, they just lost Jackson Dart, so it's going to be a little. It could be about a year or two before they finally get back under themselves and they get back to being Ole Miss. But but that again, I think that's purely from a talent perspective for me. I think Lane Kiffin is one of the best coaches in college football, one of the best coaches in the SEC, and he's going to get this program right. I feel like talent-wise, and especially at the most important position of quarterback, last year they obviously had one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football. He goes to the NFL, plays for the New York Giants, probably going to win that job. And so I think this year is going to be one little slip-up of a year, and I think they come back stronger in 2026 and certainly in 2027. Iowa State, you have them starting off against Kansas State. It's going to be a loss. Then you have South Dakota, Iowa, Arkansas State, Arizona, at Cincinnati, at Colorado, BYU, Arizona State, at TCU, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. I'll be very, very honest. I don't know much about Iowa State right now, so I'm going to keep this one really, really short. I think their toughest games are going to be Arizona State. I think that'll be a loss. I think it's going to be Kansas, week 1. That's going to be a loss, unless we just have one hell of a ball game right there. But with the rest of the schedule, and Iowa, I think they could also definitely lose to Iowa. We'll see how that goes. But Iowa, Kansas State, and Arizona State are the teams that I think that they're going to possibly lose to with 3 losses. I think they're very capable of being some of these other teams as well. So we'll see how it goes for Iowa State. Now, Texas Tech at 23, I feel like they should be ranked 1 or 2 spots higher, or maybe even like at number 20, and Indiana goes up to like number 19. But Texas Tech, I think, is going to be a really good football team. They have one of my favorite players in all of college football, and Quentin Joyner, former USC Trojan. They start off the season at AR Pine Bluff. I don't know if it's AR Pine Bluff College or the University of AR Pine Bluff. Then they go Kent State, Oregon State at home, which is an important factor because Oregon State and Corvallis are always tough games. And they have at Utah. Utah, like I said, I think it's going to be one of the teams that not only makes the top 25, but could seriously go and catch up and be that team in the Big 12 that goes. I think I'll put it to you this way. I think Texas Tech and Utah are the 2 teams that I seriously could see playing for the Big 12 championship and making one of the college football playoff spots. So I think this is going to be a big game right here. Texas Tech at Utah, week 4. That's going to be a good game to look out for. Then you got at Houston, Kansas, at Arizona State. That should be a good game. Oklahoma State at Kansas. That's also going to be a tough game. BYU, UCF, and West Virginia. I think their biggest games for sure is going to be Utah, Arizona State, and Kansas State. I think that they go and if they go off and finish 9-3, but that would be tough actually. That's actually. I think if they finish off 9-3, I don't think they're going to the Big 12 championship. But I think if they can beat Utah at Utah, that'll be very, very impressive, and they should beat them because they're obviously a ranked team. Utah isn't, but I think Utah's gonna be better than people think. And they beat either Arizona State or Kansas State, one of the higher ranked teams in the Big 12, then they're in the driver's seat of really going and playing in that Big 12 championship game. But again, I think that week 4 matchup, Utah versus Texas Tech, I do think that's a game that they go and give a little bit of a preview of as far as being in the Big 12 championship game. Now, Tennessee at number 24. I feel like I've talked about this in the last video when it comes to Tennessee. I don't have any real expectations for them now without Nico, to be quite honest with you. Nico transferring over to UCLA, I don't see what they have, who they have, to be honest with you, to really make a push. They have Syracuse week 1, ETSU, and then they have Georgia, UAB. Georgia's going to be a loss, by the way, even at home. Then they're going to play Mississippi State, Arkansas, at Alabama, that's a loss. Kentucky, Oklahoma, that's going to be a loss. New Mexico State, at Florida in the Swamp, that's going to be a loss. And they can definitely lose to Vanderbilt. So realistically, I got them losing, including Vanderbilt, I got them losing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. 5 games. And that's not even including some of the other schools like Mississippi State or Arkansas, Syracuse, or at Kentucky. So it's realistic. It could get really, really ugly for the Tennessee Volunteers. I don't know how that's going to vote for. I don't know. I think this is going to be a major step back year for Tennessee and their head coach. So this is going to have to be a year where they're just going to have to do. I don't know. I think every game is going to be a dogfight. I don't know who they're going to have at quarterback. I'll be very honest. I'm not going to come out here and act like I know. I'm still getting back into the swing of things and getting back into learning more about rosters and more about covering the game as much as possible for the ones that I don't know as much of. But Tennessee, though, being ranked number 24, I'm sorry. I don't think they should. I don't think they should be ranked. And then USC though is not ranked at all. Put it to you that way. I think USC is a better team right now than Tennessee. So, and then Boise State. I also don't know what to say about Boise State. I think they kind of just put Boise State in there to have somebody from the Mountain West in there. I really don't know what to say about Boise State. They don't have Ashton Jeanty, in my opinion, the Heisman Trophy winner last year. They go to South Florida, Eastern Washington, Air Force, App State, at Notre Dame. They're going to get absolutely boat raced at Notre Dame. And then you have New Mexico, UNLV, at Nevada, Fresno State, at San Diego State, Colorado State, and Utah State. I don't even know who. I think they'll be better than a lot of these teams that they play. I'll put it to you that way. That much I do know, but I just don't see them. They're not going to. I don't think they're going to make the college football playoffs. I don't think they're going to make any noise. I don't think they're going to have the type of year they had last year. I do think they were just placed here for them to have one of the premier Mountain West teams in the top 25. But anyways, that's my top 25, full top 25 now. That's 11 through 25, and some of my thoughts and insight on that. Now, let's go ahead and get into my Oklahoma Sooners. It's fun saying that now, my Oklahoma Sooners, by the way. So, Oklahoma, let's go ahead and go to their schedule. I think Oklahoma is going to not only come back with a vengeance this year after having a down year, a really bad year to their standards last year, but I think they're going to go ahead and come back and they're going to do very, very well. I think they're coming in with the Heisman Trophy candidate, in my opinion, with John Materian. I'm not going to get into the whole Venmo history, and to me, there's no way of proving it. We don't really know, other than what was seen or what was put out there. I don't think anything is going to come of it, and I'm not going to waste time talking about it, okay? But you have a Heisman Trophy candidate in John Mateer. He goes out and does what he's supposed to do. He's easily first-round pick. Maybe they'll possibly, at minimum, drops down to high second-round pick. You have Jaden Ott, one of the best running backs in all of college football, coming over from Cal, transferring over to Oklahoma from Cal. You have Deion Burks, and as long as he stays healthy, similarly to DJ Lagway, as long as he stays healthy and he does what he's supposed to do, he transfers from Purdue a couple of years ago. Last year, I think he played in a few games, but again, he got hurt, so we couldn't really see him. If he stays healthy and you have him in that offense with John Mateer, with Jaden Ott, this is going to be a very, very explosive offense for Oklahoma. They have good weapons. They have good players on that offense, and this could easily be one of the best offenses in all of college football. I have no doubts about that. They start off the season against Illinois State, should be an easy win, and then they have an absolute, what I think is going to be a dogfight, versus Michigan, September 6th at 5:30 p.m. on ABC. That's going to be a dogfight. I have Oklahoma winning that game, pulling off. Some people may see an upset. I don't think it's going to be an upset. I think they beat them, but it's going to be a dogfight. And we're going to get into the defense right now too, but I want to go ahead and get into the schedule a little bit also. They go to Temple. They should win that. Against Auburn, you're going to go and play Auburn at home. I'm blinking out on the quarterback. Jackson Arnold, he's coming back to Oklahoma, probably looking to get a win against his former team that benched him for Michael Hawkins last year. You cannot lose to Oklahoma right here on week 4. You got to get that win. You're starting off the season 4-0 before you go ahead and get to Kent State and finishing the season 5-0, playing Texas on October 11th in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl. That's going to be a great matchup. I kid you not. I know this might sound like a crazy take. I could seriously see. Now, I do think that if I had to pick right now, I would say Texas because they have so much talent and they have a better head coach. I do think Texas is going to win the game. But I would not be surprised at all if Oklahoma goes and beats Texas. I would not. And I'm going to get into the defense now. The reason why I could see them beating Texas in the Red River rivalry game is because of the defense. I know what they're going to do on offense. I know what they could do. It's going to be an explosive offense with Deion Burks, like I said, Mateer, and Jaden Ott. It's going to be a great offense to watch as long as all those guys stay healthy. Their defensive line, in my personal opinion, from what I've seen, from what I've heard, from a little bit of research that I've done and seeing the returns they have, I think they have the best defensive line in all the SEC. With Mason Thomas, you got Demonic Williams, Grace Hall, and Marvin Jones, the transfer from Florida State. I think this is going to be a very, very tough test for Arch Manning and the Texas offense. I think this is going to be one of the most fun games to watch and one of the best games probably of the year. I almost wanted to go to this game. I really, really did. Now that I'm a part, like I said, now that I'm a student of OU, and I've always seen this game on TV and I've always heard about it. So I'll go to the Red River rivalry game at some point and enjoy the weekend there with obviously the Texas State Fair and all of that. But this game in itself is going to be I feel like it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be an absolute dogfight, pound for pound, just an absolute freaking bloodbath between Texas and Oklahoma. Texas also could possibly go into this not only 5-0, maybe 4-1 if they go and lose to Ohio State, which I think they are going to lose to Ohio State. So both of these teams at this point in the season, right smack in the middle of the season, are going to be playing for a lot. So it's not just Oklahoma, Texas. It's not just the Red River rivalry game. It's not just the state of Oklahoma, the state of Texas. It's bigger than that because this is going to implicate. There's going to be some implications of really, really good playoff seeding for both of these teams. If Oklahoma goes into the Cotton Bowl and beats Texas, who is still going to be number 1 or number 2 ranked, especially if they're undefeated, and Oklahoma comes in and they're going to be undefeated, this could really set Oklahoma up, probably put them somewhere in the top 5 if they beat Texas. I'm just saying. Now, following the Texas matchup, you got at South Carolina. That is going to be a tough matchup over in Columbia, playing against that again. With South Carolina, they have LaNorris Sellers, a Heisman Trophy candidate, another one. You have Nick Harbor. You have Dylan Stewart. You have all these guys back-to-back games. Texas, South Carolina. I think that's going to be a tough. I don't see a world really where Oklahoma goes possibly beats Texas and then goes to Columbia and beats South Carolina. If they go in and beat Texas, they beat South Carolina, rank the number 1. They deserve it. So I'm going to say that they don't beat South Carolina. I think South Carolina gets the win there. But then they go and they beat Ole Miss. They go to Tennessee. They beat Tennessee. And then they go and play Alabama at Alabama. Oklahoma's highlight last year was beating Alabama at home. I do think Oklahoma could beat Alabama again 1,000%, especially with that defense that I mentioned along with that offense. I think they could do it. However, again, Alabama is playing for really their entire lives and, dare I say, reputation. They haven't won, I think, since what? Was it 2021 or 2020? Let me just double check this. When was the last time? I'm pretty sure it was 2020 or 2021. Alabama. It was 2021. So they're in a way playing for the reputation. And DeBoer, like I mentioned, he's playing for his job. He can't go and miss the playoffs again. and he cannot not compete for the SEC championship. I think they go to Alabama. I think they take the loss. That's 2 losses. They go and play Missouri at home, and then they play LSU at home. LSU at home now, I think is going to bode well for them. I think they can go and beat LSU. But realistically, I do think LSU is just still too star-studded, and I think they possibly lose to LSU. But 9-3 though, getting into this, this upcoming season for the Oklahoma Sooners is something that any fan would take this year 1,000%, especially after the year they had last year. But to walk into that last game of the year against LSU and they really have a chance to go, and if they go and beat LSU, not only obviously if they go and beat LSU and they're 10-2, I think they're making the college football playoff. I don't see how you leave them out. So that they're going to be playing for a lot with LSU also, and LSU knows that. LSU is also probably going to be going and playing for its seeding. Obviously, LSU is going to definitely make the college football playoffs this year, barring any major injury to any major key players for the LSU Tigers. So that's kind of my whole thing on Oklahoma and kind of what I wanted to talk about. Wanted to talk about the schedule. I wanted to talk about why I think Oklahoma is going to be really a very, very solid dark horse in the SEC of earning its respect back, earning its name brand back. It's always going to have its name brand, but over the last few years, since Lincoln Riley left to go to USC, Oklahoma hasn't really been the cream of the crop that they were, obviously 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, and even before that. I think this is the year that they earn their respect back. I think this is the year that they go out and punch teams in the mouth that might be better than them, at least on paper, or at least right now. And they go and they make some noise and they make it really hard for the College Football Playoff Committee to not put them in the playoffs. So I think they go out. I think my final record for them is going to be 9-3. They make a really, really good bowl game. I think they have I think they go and start something new, but get the ball rolling again, and going into 2026 now with really some momentum. Go into 2026 with something to build off of. You go 9-3 this year. Next year you probably go 10 or 11 wins, and you go until you bring the Oklahoma Sooner name back deep into the college football playoffs, back in the college football playoffs to start with, but making deep runs in the college football playoffs and possibly even making the national championship one day within the next 3 to 4 years. I think they have the team to do it. I think we have the coach to do it. He's back coaching on the defensive side of the ball again, which I think is a great thing. He's one of the best defensive minds in all of college football. And like I said, they have the best defensive line in the entire SEC. And overall, as a defense, I think they have one of the top 3 to 5 defenses in the SEC also. So they're going to have something to say to all the some of the other teams and some of the other defenses that probably got ranked a little bit higher than them when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. So I'm really excited to watch the Oklahoma Sooners play this year. I cannot wait. I just can't wait for football again. I'm so excited. We're finally here. It's college football season. We made it back. We made it through all the dog days of summer. We made it through the dog days of baseball season, the dog days of basketball season towards like the end of the year. And now we're finally here. It's the best time of the year. It's the best time it's just the best time of the year for everybody here in America and us as Americans as a whole. This is I love this. I love this sport. I love shooting the shit with you guys. I love talking about football. I love doing this type of digital media stuff with you guys. So that's all I'm going to have for you guys today. The next video I'm going to do, we're going to talk a little bit about my rankings. I'm going to do a ranking, and I'm going to show it to you guys. And then we're going to get into, we'll see what other teams we get into. But for now, thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends. Tell your friends about this. You ever want some content to go and for college football? Come right here to the Reed Step. I am your host, Isaiah Ruiz. This is the Reed Step, and I will see you later. Bye.